Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Johnny TCG. I am happy to see you here again today. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite leaders in the game, a leader that I've made deck lists in just about every single format since she's come out, and that is OP07 Jewelry Bonney, the mono green leader, one of the most unique leaders in the game. Now, Jewelry Bonney did not get any direct support in the new OP10 set, but she did get some cards that can be used in her deck list, and they really help out the deck a lot. So, of course, we've got to make an OP10 deck list update video for you. I was crafting a list. I've tried a bunch of different cards out. I ended up finding this list by Dylan on Twitter. I'll throw up the tweet on screen. I've tested it out and I've got to say it's probably my favorite list yet. So I'm going to show it off on the sim for you today. One of the biggest points of contention right now for OP10 Bonney deck builders is how important is the 9 cost Zoro and how important is the 9 cost Shanks. Both of those cards are very good in their own rights, but in the current meta, which one fits the best? That is the question. It's really going to come down to your personal preferences and what matchups you expect to see, and then maybe teching for those matchups. I personally have been really enjoying the Zoro in this list. Yes, sometimes he can be awkward to play, but when you can establish him safely, you're going to be in such a good spot if you're not in lethal range for your opponent. Zoro will often be able to win you games himself. Not really many decks are going to be able to survive 3 straight giant swings from Zoro, and then of course you probably have other characters and your leader on the board to swing with. Now, of course, that doesn't mean he's an auto win button, but he still is so good. So there's debate on whether or not 9 cost Shanks or 9 cost Zoro. Test it out yourself and let me know how it goes. As I said before, I've done Bonney lists in just about every single set since she's come out, making tons of updates, and I really don't know if I need to do another in-depth deck breakdown for this. Let me know in the comments down below. But today I think I'm really just going to focus on the update from OP09 to OP10. One thing you'll notice is that we're not running dual searchers anymore. It seems like for the most part dual searchers in Bonney have kind of fallen out of favor. Instead of Baby 5 and Jewelry Bonney searchers, we're just going to do Jewelry Bonney and focus on searching Supernova cards, and I think so far this feels perfectly fine. Of course, it's really fun to establish 2 separate searchers and just make your opponent have to deal with those early game, getting you to the late game and getting you card advantage, but right now, 1 searcher has been fine. There's so many options for this deck, especially in to the mid game, that I'm not really too worried about only having 1 searcher. I'm usually going to be able to find a decent card to play on turn 3 or 4. New additions in this deck from OP10. Starting off, we'll talk about the 5 cost Smoker. 5 cost 7,000 power. Smoker has Banish, and then he has the ability of Activate Main. You may restand a Rested Don as active, and then you can't restand Don with any other character's effects for the rest of this turn. This is so good to play on your 5 Don turn. You're going to be able to restand a Don, so you do have leader ability, so you're able to play on curve and keep a Don open for leader ability. Then the next turn, he's going to put a lot of pressure on your opponent's life. The 7,000 power Banish swing feels so good, especially into multicolor leaders that are usually at 4 life. You're really going to force them to think about whether or not they want to have that life banished or counter from their hand. Either way, it's a win-win for you for the most part. In previous sets, Cavendish was always my favorite 5 Don play for Bonney, but now Smoker might actually be my favorite play, just because he allows you to do the ability, and then he also allows you to swing earlier using that 7,000 power Banish, which I just absolutely love right now. We're running 4 of the 3 cost 4,000 power 2k counter Tashigis from OP10. Of course, 2k counter by itself is very good, but her ability is very strong combining with some of the other cards in our deck. Her ability is that when one of your other green characters would be removed from the field due to one of your opponent's effects, you get to rest Tashigi instead. So this is perfect to pair with the OP1 8 cost Captain Kid. He is going to be the target of so many of your opponent's effects that aren't just swinging into him, whether it be Gum Gum Red Rock or cost manipulation to lower his cost and pop him from the board, return him into your hand, etc. This is the perfect scenario for Tashigi to help you out with, because of course we love that 8 cost Captain Kid and he is so important for us in this deck. If you told me you didn't run this card as a 4 of, I wouldn't call you crazy, just because at the end of the day it is not searchable, and in every single matchup you won't need it. If your opponent's not playing a deck that can KO or bottom deck or bounce back to hand because of effects, then she's not going to be that important. But at the end of the day, you can use her as a 2k too, so I think she's worth having. Maybe cut her down to 3, but either way, still a solid card and a solid addition to this new deck list. Besides that, there's no really crazy additions to the deck list from OP10. Bartolomeo is a 3 cost 4,000 blocker from OP07 that I wasn't running him in a lot of my initial lists, but I am running him in this list because I do like the way he synergizes with some of our other characters. He's a blocker, and then he has the ability of when one of your characters are rested using one of your effects. So for example, the 8-cost kid resting himself to play out another card, or your Jewelry Bonnie searcher resting herself. You get to draw one, trash one. This is a perfect way to cycle your hand, and he's searchable with Bonnie too. So at the end of the day, he can be used as counter. He's a nice blocker that you can cheat out with 8-cost kid. I think he's worth running in this deck for sure. So yeah, that's the deck list we're rocking with. Of course, I want to mention again, I am not the architect of this list. I do not want to take credit for it. It was Dylan on Twitter. Boom, there you go. And now, before we get into the games, of course, we've got a giveaway for you. If you're new to the channel, we do a giveaway for a custom card in just about every video. The giveaways are free to enter. All you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. For today's video, we're going to be giving away a custom Jewelry Bonnie Leader using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I am not claiming to be the artist. I am not selling it. It is a fun personal fan project of mine. And if you want to win it, you just have to like, you just have to comment. And if this video hits 20 likes in the first 24 hours, I will send it to one US-based commenter completely free. Simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to continue to support the channel in even more ways, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It really helps out the channel. I really appreciate it. And with that, let's get to the gameplay. Editor, roll the gameplay. Our first game of the day is going to be against a Blackbeard from OP10. Me and this player played 2 games so far. The series is tied 1-1. This game is for all the marbles. We're on the odd curve and we are just going to pass. We don't have that nice Jewelry Bonnie to play on turn 1. 2 Don for them to work with. Do they have the Lafitte? Do they have a Doc Q perhaps? Let's see what they got. They got the Doc Q. They're getting ready. Whatever I play out next turn probably is going to die. We do find that Jewelry Bonnie top deck though, and that will be a nice card to play out and then just get some instant value from it. 5,000 at their leader now. I imagine they'll take this. Blackbeard typically takes life very early on so they can develop a big hand size. Now 1 Don for the Jewelry Bonnie. We are going to take the Cavendish. Is very tempting, but also a 2K would be nice. We're going to go with the Cavendish even though later on in the game my on plays might be disabled. Smoker is in fact a great card in this matchup because it is an activate main and not an on play. They're going to pop the Jewelry Bonnie character, not too surprising there. 5,000 at us now with their leader, and we are going to take that. They do establish that Jesus Burgess, which will be a little bit of a pain, but with our leader ability, we might be able to remove it before it gets too strong. We decided to go with the Cavendish this turn instead of the Smoker just because they did not disable our on play, and Cavendish would get us more value. Now they're going to use the Finger Pistol to pop our Cavendish, unfortunately. 6,000 now with their Jesus Burgess into our life. I'm thinking we take this and then just rest their leader while we are at it. I actually decided to protect our life with the 2K there, which I'm not sure if was really necessary, but in the past couple games we had, I did take life, I think, a little bit too willy-nilly, and that's why we lost the first one. We're going to do 7,000 now at the Jesus Burgess. No way they're going to let this go. They'll give us the 2K counter stronger, and then we'll go with Smoker for 5 Don, set a Don as active, which will be great. They're going to be at 8 Don to work with, and yeah, I think we're in a decent spot. I mean, of course, that Jesus Burgess is going to be a pain, but next turn we could possibly set up the 8-cost Eustace Captain Kidd. They will start out by giving 1 Don to their Jesus Burgess, swing 7,000 into us, I guess. Yeah, 7,000. We can use leader ability. It's tempting to rest the Vasco shot blocker so that we could maybe swing into Jesus Burgess next turn, but I think resting their leader here just makes the most sense. I don't really want them to have another opportunity to swing in my life, especially since I don't have a lot of counter in my hand. We get our 3rd Hody Jones, which is a little bit ridiculous. I need to do a better job of shuffling my deck. Ba-doom. Bad joke, Johnny. Bad joke. Shake it off. They're going to play down the 5-cost Kuzan, then use his ability right away to draw a card and then play a card from his trash. The card from the trash is a 5-cost Van Augur, a very strong card, especially in this matchup to get rid of some of my bodies. With it for 2 Don, they'll play down the Doc Q, which is going to be very annoying next turn. Whatever I play out will likely get popped. Maybe not if it's the big 8-cost Eustace Captain Kidd, but whatever blocker I play out is definitely going to die. We're going to swing 7,000 first with our Smoker, and they take it, and we get to banish that 10-cost Marshall D. Teach. Let's go. I imagine they didn't have the counter to counter out of it, and they didn't want to use their Vasco shot blocker because they want to keep that Jesus Burgess alive. Now 5,000 with our leader. They will 1K out of that with the Jesus Burgess. We'll use Smoker's ability to set a Don as active, use Eustace Captain Kidd's ability to play out the Rosinante, and while the Rosinante is the better of the two options between him and Bartolomeo, just in case they don't order their turn properly. Or make a misplay. Rosinante is going to be decent, but they're going to be able to easily clear it with Van Augur and Doc Q, and then maybe swing into the 8-cost kid or pull some other shenanigans. They'll start by resting Van Augur, giving a -3 cost. Who are they going to give it to? I imagine the Rosinante, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did the Smoker and then maybe found a way to remove both the Smoker and the Rosinante this turn. They'll give it to the Rosinante, then rest Doc Q to pop it. Now, how are they going to deal with this 8-cost Eustace Captain Kid? I'm kind of expecting a 10-cost teach here, but I guess they don't have it. 17,000 into that Eustace Captain Kid. We can use our leader ability. The question is, do we want to rest their leader or their Vasco shot? I think it makes sense to rest their Vasco shot here, actually. That'll give us a good chance to remove their Jesus Burgess or swing Banish into their life. 5,000 now with their leader, and I'm thinking maybe we counter this with Cavendish, or maybe we just take it. We just take it. We get the 2k counter. While they do have a lot of characters on the board, there is not a super medicine character. Of course, we want to get rid of this Jesus Burgess and this Van Augur, but I think we're still in a decent position. They did use their leader ability, so I can play down Hody Jones Rush and not have to take a life. We're going to start with a 7,000 swing from our Smoker into their life. They'll either have to give us both cards from hand or have a life banished. They'll have a life banished and is a Doc Q, and that's not too bad, nothing too special from us. Now the question is, how do we order this? We're going to start with a Hody Jones into Jesus Burgess. Do they have a 2k counter, or do they have two 1ks? Will they give it to us? I am tempted to give a Don to Hody Jones and swing big with him into the Jesus Burgess, just because I really want to get him off the board, but I would also love to keep 3 Don up so that I can play that 2-cost Rosinante blocker and leave a Don up for leader ability. We're going to swing 8,000 into the Jesus Burgess, and they do have that 2k Shiryu. That is an ideal. I don't think it's the end of the world, though. I'm thinking we swing 5,000 into the Vasco shot, and I really want to get that Rosinante blocker on the board just so we can hopefully keep other characters alive like Smoker or Hody Jones, depending on what they do. 1 Don to play This Is My Age Searcher. This is great. This confirms that we're not going to see the 10-cost teach here. They might still be able to remove my Smoker and Hody Jones, but I think we're in a decent spot. They are going to find that 10-cost teach, so I should be aware of that next turn that it will be coming. This also means that out of the 2 cards in their hand, we know one of them is not counter, which is a great thing to know and will be very important when we're swinging into either their board or their life. We might even be able to go for game next turn, depending on how they do this turn. They're going to use Van Augur and Doc Q to get rid of my Don Quixote Rosinante blocker. Now, with 9 Don left up, what are they going to do? I mean, they don't have a ton of options. I think maybe their best bet would just be swing really big with the Jesus Burgess into my Smoker, perhaps. I think that makes the most sense to me, but hey, what do I know? They will end up giving 5 Don to their Jesus Burgess and swinging really big. Who are they swinging into? They're going to swing into the Smoker, and I think I just have to take this. Yeah, I do not have the counter to keep this Smoker alive, unfortunately. That is not the worst thing in the world, though. We're still in a decent spot. For 4 Don, they will play down the Jesus Burgess, and I actually can go for game here. We know the 1 card in their hand does not have any counter, so yeah, we can just swing 5,000 with our leader. That'll definitely be a hit. We can go 8,000 with Hody Jones. That'll definitely be a hit. And then we've got another Hody Jones we can play. We'll rest their Jesus Burgess and then just throw 3 Don on Hody Jones, even though it's all not necessary, and just swing 11,000, and that is game. GG's. It was fun playing with you. On to the next one. Our first game of the day is going to be against the new OP10 Blue-Black Usopp, one of the strongest decks in the new set, if I say so myself. This leader is really strong. It has not 1 but 2 abilities, and you know leaders with 2 abilities are usually pretty strong. Usually is the key word there. We are on the odd curve, and even though we have Cavendish and Smoker, which are both great cards to play on the odd curve, I decided to mulligan just because I didn't love having 2 0-cost events in my hand to start out with. We are going to play down the Jewelry Bonney turn 1, and I think the second hand is pretty decent. We have that Smoker, which we love, and a Carrot that could be good in this matchup. Unfortunately, Usopp's going to be able to balance and bottom deck and KO a bunch of our characters, and so I'm not super confident in this matchup. They're going to search with Rebecca and Leo and then pass it back to us. 3 Don for us to work with. We'll start off with a Jewelry Bonney search, and we do get that 8-cost Eustace Captain Kid. That might be really helpful in this matchup, especially if they do not run Gum Gum Red Rock. They're going to counter out of that 6,000 power swing with our leader. 4 Don for them to work with now. One thing that I will keep in mind is the fact that I do have Tashigi Shigi, and even though she's not a blocker, she will be helpful in trying to keep this Eustace Captain Kid on the board. They'll start with a 5,000 swing into my Jewelry Bonney Searcher, and of course I'm going to let that go. They'll play the Coliseum stage and then swing 5,000 at us with their Rebecca. Life comes at you fast. We take that life, and now we are going to swing 5,000 with our leader. I think playing Smoker here is the right move. It'll allow us to restand a Don, and if that Smoker can stay on the board, it'll allow us to put great pressure on their life. They'll take that swing, and now they're down to 3 life cards, which I think I would have expected them to counter out of it there, but what do I know? I don't play blue-black Usopp. 6 Don for them to work with now. Hopefully the Smoker can stay on the board. 5,000 at us with their leader. This I'm leaning towards countering out of, but then I just decided to take it. Why not get some more cards? I'm not sure if they run Pudding, but a Pudding would hurt a lot here. They are going to play down the one-legged toy soldier minus the cost of my Smoker by 3, and then they can play out that Roronoa Zoro to pop the Smoker. That feels bad, but it could be worse, I guess. I don't know. Now they've developed essentially a 5 cost 6,000 power body, and I have no characters on the board. I decide it's going to be another Smoker turn. We're going to start off with 7,000 with our leader, which they'll take again, going down to 2 life, which is nice for us. We'll play down that Smoker, restand a Don, and at least we can rest one of their characters or their leader this turn. They're going to start off with a 7,000 power swing with that Zoro, and we'll rest their leader. I'm thinking about countering out of this one. Going down to 2 life does feel a little bit scary, so I'm going to use that 0 cost event in the carrot. They're going to have the OP10 Rebecca to cheat out a Kairos and then return the Smoker to my hand. I definitely played that previous turn wrong. I should have not swung for 7,000 with my leader. I should have just swung for 5,000 and then also cheated out our Tashigi to pair with the Smoker. There's a high likelihood in that scenario that they have to change their play and they're not able to get that Smoker off the board. A misplay on my part. I got to have that future sight and think about it more deeply. But here we are now, 5,000 at them. I am kind of convinced I'm going to lose this game. Just look at the difference in our board states. Unfortunately, even with this Eustace Captain Kid, I don't have a ton of counter in hand. I have to decide whether or not I'm going to pair him with Tashigi and prevent him from being bounced, or pair him with Bartolomeo and have a blocker. Either way, I mean, they both have their pros and cons, and I think I'm going to go with Tashigi, even though in hindsight, maybe I should have went with Bartolomeo. Let me know in the comments down below what you would have done in this situation. We'll see in the upcoming turn if it was worth it or not to keep that Tashigi in play instead of in our hand. Of course, it is a 2K, our only 2K, so it definitely feels bad playing it out sometimes when I need some counter. I do have plenty of 1Ks in my hand, but is that going to be enough? They could hypothetically just throw all of their Don on Kairos, and that would feel bad. Unfortunately, it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. 14,000, I don't think I can get out of this, and even if I could, it would be like every single card in my hand. Am I really going to do that? If I do that, they will be able to throw Don on their Zoro or their leader and still get that Eustace Captain Kid off the board, so I have to let it go. That definitely feels like a little bit of a waste. They still have 4 Don or 5 Don to work with, so yeah, not a great position for us to be in. 7,000 now with that Zoro. We are going to take that, and we do get that 0 cost event, which could be helpful later on in the game. Now 9,000 with their leader. I'm thinking I should have just countered out of that Zoro swing because now I'm down to 1 life. We are in a little bit of a pickle, if I say so myself. Unfortunately, with this carrot, we cannot freeze their Kairos because of Usopp's ability, giving it +1 cost. It's now an 8 cost and out of our range. We are going to swing with our leader for 5,000, and I think we'll play down either a Bartolomeo or a Cavendish, or maybe even Smoker too. Smoker might actually be the play here because it will let us restand a Don. Of course, Cavendish as well. But if the Smoker can stay on the board, it'll allow us to put more pressure on their life. They're going to block that swing with their Frankie. They're going to be able to get a card from the trash, play out the Rebecca 1 cost searcher with 1 Don that we can restand using Smoker's ability, and then the 2 0 cost events in our hand. There is a chance we can survive this turn, but it is definitely a little bit scary. Even if we do survive, I don't see how we're going to be able to come back and win this. 9,000 now with their Kairos. We're going to use leader ability to rest their Usopp. If they want to go any further, they're going to have to throw Don on one of their characters, Rebecca being the obvious choice. We'll take that because if they want to swing with the Rebecca, I do think we have the counter for it, and if they do that, they won't be able to establish any bodies, and then maybe we can just go for an Hail Mary this next turn. 14,000 at us now with Rebecca. Now, I must say it was a little bit risky swinging into me when I do have 8 cards in hand. Of course, they wouldn't know that I have 2 0 cost counter events. Now we counter out with every single card in our hand besides 1 Bartolomeo. We top deck another, and we're just going to have to go for it here, folks. It's no way around it. There's no way for us to win. The question now is, how do we divvy up our Don and which cards do we attack with first? We're going to start with a 9,000 Banish swing from Smoker. I think the Smoker swing first might be the best idea, just because they're probably going to counter out of it because they don't want Banish, or maybe they don't. So we'll see. Either way, I think that's a great card to start with. It is dangerous, but they can't get any triggers, at least if they do take it. So normally that would be an issue, but in this situation, we're not worried about triggers. They are going to counter out of that, but now they've got a lot less cards in hand. Now all three of these attacks are going to have to hit. I give a Don to my Carrot first, but we actually should swing with the Smoker first. We're going to do a 7,000 power swing. 5 cards in hand. No way this goes through, but let's see. Maybe they're going to take it and then just kind of tempt me to go all in and give me false hope. That one hits. Now 8,000 with our Carrot. That one hits as well. 6 or 7 cards in hand. No way an 8,000 power swing goes through. They get to 8,000. Do they have an extra counter? They do not. That is absolutely absurd. No counter in their hand with 7 cards. Or, I mean, they did have some counter, but not being able to get out of that 8,000 power swing with 7 cards in hand is a really bad feeling. GG, I'm surprised they came back from that one, but we will certainly take it. Now we've got a game against Red-Green Oden, some off-meta spice for you. I love to see off-meta spice on the sim. Red-Green Oden is a really fun leader. I need to do an update video for him for the OP10 format. It's been a minute since I last played him, and I got to get back to him just because he is a good time. We're on the odd curve, which is pretty solid for us, I'd say. We do have that Cavendish to play next turn. We're going to start off with a 7,000 power swing into their life. I imagine they'll take this, and they do. They did play down that Otama turn 1. They might have a You Can Be My Samurai card. That would be really strong if they compare it with another searcher. They are not going to do that. They are going to play down the 4-cost Hiyori from EB01 and then cheat out the Yamato from EB01. Yamato is a really strong card to pair with Oden. They'll swing 7,000 with their leader, and we will take that. Now we are going to swing into their Yamato, which we were able to rest using our leader ability. 5,000 into 5,000. There's no way they let that go through. They're going to give us a 1k counter, and we are actually going to go with the Carrot instead of maybe Cavendish or Smoker, just because it allows us to freeze that Yamato. I think getting that freeze ability out ASAP is going to be great for us. 6 Don for them to work with. I didn't leave a Don up for leader ability, but I'm not really too worried about that. They're going to play down the Momonosuke Searcher from OP01 and draw the EB01 Izo, swing 7,000 at us, and this will probably take again. I don't think it's worth using that 0-cost counter event or trashing any 2Ks from our hand. We do get that 3-cost Bartolomeo blocker, nothing too crazy there. With their remaining Don, they will play out the 4-cost 6,000 power Ryuma. It doesn't get its effect off or anything, but that is still a decent card to play out. We're going to start our turn by swinging 5,000 into the Momonosuke, or maybe we swing into the Yamato. I think swinging into the Momonosuke makes more sense, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. We're going to be able to freeze that Yamato anyway with the Carrot, and I feel like if I swung 5,000 into the Yamato, there's no way they let it go. I'm thinking here we play down the Smoker just because next turn Smoker applies a lot more pressure than a Cavendish would. Smoker is especially strong against 4 life leaders that don't really have a lot of life cards to spare. Now I'm going to swing with Carrot. I decide to actually maybe swing into this Yamato anyway. Maybe they let it go because it's frozen and they won't be able to really swing with it next turn, so they don't want to give us a 2k. We'll see what they do here though. I wouldn't be surprised if they still keep it alive because Yamato does have that ability where they're able to give a Don to their leader, which is really strong, of course, with Oden's ability. They are going to counter out of that. We do get a 2k, which is cool with us, and I decided to maybe actually go with Cavendish because with Cavendish being able to restand 2 Don instead of 1, we're able to play out the Bartolomeo blocker, which will help us keep this Carrot alive. I really want to do that this turn so we can just keep getting value with it. 8 Don for them to work with. I think we're in a decent spot here. For 5 Don, they are going to play down that EB01 Izo, which is really strong in this deck, giving a Don to their leader. 7,000 at our leader now. They're not going to swing into that Carrot, at least with their leader. They're just going to try to pressure our life. 7,000 at us, and I am debating on whether or not to counter out of this, but I do think we're okay to take this. 7,000, we will take that, and we do get another Cavendish, which isn't super helpful, but we can always trash it off that 0-cost 3,000 power event. 3 Don up, which does make me a little bit nervous. With Red Hawk, they could pop my Bartolomeo using Izo's ability, and then Red Hawk, they could pop my Carrot. I'm going to swing first with Carrot because of that, but then I'm also like, should I give a Don to my Bartolomeo to keep it alive? I should honestly give a Don to my Carrot to keep her alive. It's definitely going to be an 8-cost Eustace Captain Kid turn. The question is just how should I order this turn? We're going to give a Don to Bartolomeo, then swing 6,000 with our Carrot. into the Yamato, freezing the Ryuma. This is definitely the way to go, as freezing the Yamato will still let the Yamato do their ability. Now it's time for the 8-cost Kid and then a Cavendish swing into the Yamato. We're not really pressuring life here. We're just trying to clear their board a bit. With that 8-cost Kid up, I think we're going to be pretty safe going into next turn. We don't have any other blockers to play out using his ability. But we do have a ton of counter in hand. 2 Tashigis that are 2k counters, 2 Scratch Manapus that are 2k counters. I was debating on whether or not I should play out potentially the Scratch Manapu here, because he would let me rest my opponent's Don when I swing, which could be very helpful if he's running counter events, but they just concede. I should have put in the chat that I was still thinking, so they didn't think I maybe like quit or just was taking forever. I guess they didn't really feel like they had any way to deal with the Eustace Captain Kid. Next turn, they would have been able to play a 10-cost Dofi and free some of my characters, but I definitely think I have the upper hand in this situation, so I think it's fine for me to include this. Our last game of the day is going to be against a yellow Katakuri. You do not see this leader very often anymore. Thank God I am not a fan of playing this leader. He's very strong, and I can't hate if you do play him, but he's just a very annoying leader to play against. 3 Don for us to work with. We are going to be on the odd curve, which is not amazing for us because I do believe Katakuri prefers to go second. We're going to start off with a 7,000 power swing from our leader. I gotta imagine they take this. They are going to take it. No trigger. Please no trigger. And they do get that trigger. It didn't pop up on the screen, but that was a starter deck 20 Charlotte Brûlée. It's a 2k counter, and its trigger allows you to look at the top or bottom of your life, and I think your opponent's life as well, or your opponent's life, pardon me. They'll leave the life card at the top of their life. Swing 7,000 now, which we will take. When they do use leader ability, they put that card that they left at the top originally at the bottom of their life, so I wonder if they had to change the card or there was a misclick or something. They do play down the Parasparrow too, which is annoying. We're going to play down the 5-cost Smoker and then swing 5,000 with our leader. That is out of sync, ladies and gentlemen. Depending on if they get a trigger, that Smoker could have died and it would have been absolutely tragic. With Smoker's ability, we are able to restand a Don, and even though it's not a trigger, they do have that 5-cost Nami to answer our Smoker. That card is really good in yellow decks, especially on curve. If you're playing after your opponent and you can hit them with that on 6 Don when they just played a 5-cost body. 7,000 now with their Katakuri leader. We will take that again, and then we will rest their Parasparrow so they can't swing with that. 7 Don for us to work with. It might be a Cavendish turn and just hope that we can keep it alive. If they have another Nami, I might scream, I might pull my hair out, I might just rage quit. Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen, that is satire. I would never do such things. We're going to start off with a 5,000 power swing from our leader. We're going to go into their life. I don't want to swing into that Parasparrow and help them do a little search and potentially find a 10-drop Big Mom. That's kind of annoying, so I'm going to leave it alive. They're going to 1k counter out of that attack with a Gadatsu 1k, and then we're going to go Cavendish into Bartolomeo. It is nice to set up a blocker, even if they're able to deal with that relatively easily if they have another Nami. They are not going to have another Nami. They're going to play down the Kikunojo and then swing 8,000 at us. With their leader ability, they're going to look at the top of their life and leave it at the top. I have to keep that in mind that it could be a harmful trigger. We're going to rest their Parasparrow using leader ability and 7,000 at us again with their Nami, and I'm thinking maybe we counter out of this or just take it. Why not take it? We're going to set up the 8-cost Eustace Captain Kid here, and that is an amazing card in this matchup just because with our leader ability and the amount of blockers we run, I think it's going to be able to stick around for a while. They will start dropping 10 moms probably, but it is what it is. I think that we will be okay, at least for a couple of turns. We are going to swing with that Cavendish into the Nami, clearing it, thankfully. Now we're going to swing 5,000 into their life, which is a little bit risky because they left something at the top of their life. They decide not to activate the trigger, though, which is interesting. Maybe it was actually a 10 mom, and they knew that they would just take a swing this turn so that they could play it out next turn. We're going to go with the Rosinante off of our Eustace Captain Kid's effect. Using Bartolomeo's effect, we draw 1, trash 1. We're going to draw that Jewelry Bonney, and I'm debating on what card to trash. While I do love Rorono Zoro, it might be the move to trash him. Or do we trash the Carrot? We're going to go with the Carrot, but in hindsight, I think we would have been fine to trash Zoro just because I don't know if there's going to be a great time to play him in this game. 10 Don for them to work with. We are not going to see the 10 mom this turn. They're going to start off with a Charlotte Pudding Search, and that's when they do find the 10 mom. 9 Don for them still to work with. They're going to play 3-cost Charlotte Brûlée. This has been a great turn for us. They're definitely not having an optimal turn, so yeah, this is great for us. 9,000 now with Kikunojo. I think they should have swung with the Charlotte Katakuri first because they would have been able to use his ability and at least look at the top of my life. So a little bit of a misplay there. 9,000 at our Eustace Captain Kid. That is an easy 2K. We've got two 2Ks in our hand now with one 1K, which feels pretty good. 8,000 now with the Eustace Captain Kid, and we'll give him the 1k Jewelry Bonney, and I think we're set up very nicely for a 10 cost Doflamingo play. Of course, I'm nervous about triggers, potentially popping characters like Cavendish, Bartolomeo, Rosinante, but it is what it is. We're going to go with 10 cost Doflamingo first, freezing all their viable bodies, and then we're going to swing 6,000 with the Cavendish, restanding 2 Don. You love to see it. We're probably going to swing with our Jewelry Bonney Leader too, even though that feels super scary. 6,000, they will give us the 2k counter, and then just 5,000 with our Leader, hoping they don't get triggered. The reason we're leaving 2 Don up is because we want to save one for our Eustace Kid, and then of course one for our Leader ability. We'll probably rest that Charlotte Brûlée, which will be very nice depending on what they do here. 9,000 with Kid into their life here, and they will block with Charlotte Brûlée. We have really turned the pressure up, and I think we are in a commanding lead right now. Even with this 10 mom they drop, we do trash a life and they gain a life, but just look at our board. Our board is stacked, and we got another 10 cost Dofi now. I don't even know what to play it over. Cavendish is just so strong, and of course I love the 2 blockers that I can play with my Eustace Captain Kid. Unfortunately though, I think I'm going to end up playing this Doflamingo over the Bartolomeo. The question is, what order do I do this in? I'm going to have to make a little bit of a risky decision, because if I play this Doflamingo over a blocker, and then they get a trigger that KOs my other blocker, I am in an awkward situation. I'm going to start with the 5,000 power Leader swing, and they will counter out of that with the 1k. I'm being real risky here, but I've got to put pressure on their life. Now the question is, 10 cost Dofi, what do I play him over? And we're going to play him over the Bartolomeo. Hopefully they don't get a trigger to kill this Resonante, but even if they do, I think we are pretty safe for next turn, unless they trigger a Kikanojo. I think a Kikanojo really throws a wrench in my plan. Now they are going to counter out of that 6,000 power swing too. I decided to not swing with this Eustace Captain Kid or the 10 cost Dofi because I'm so nervous about triggers. I decided to rest the Eustace Captain Kid so we can use his ability and leave that Dofi standing. I still think we're in a really good spot for next turn. Unfortunately, we're going to have to use our Rosinante blocker here. If they swing Linlin into the Doflamingo or the Eustace Captain Kid, they will swing 15,000 into it. We can use our Rosinante blocker, and yeah, they're just going to pass, leaving 6 Don up, or is that 7? 7 Don up. And yeah, it's going to be another 10 cost Dofi, which is absolutely ridiculous. We can freeze Leader, we can freeze 10 Mom, and then we can freeze the Kikanojo. Swing 6,000 with the Cavendish. I'm actually thinking about swinging into the Paraspero here, just because I don't want them to have a swing into my Eustace Captain Kid next turn. They won't have a viable swing besides maybe Pudding, but depending on how they do their Don math, we might be able to counter out of it. We'll give a Don to Eustace Captain Kid, but then swing 5,000 with our Leader, hoping for no triggers here. But even if they do get a trigger, I don't think it'll be the end of the world. They will 2k counter out of that. We'll swing 9,000 now with our Kid. They're going to have to take this. Is there a trigger? Drumroll, please. No trigger. 10,000 now with one of our Dofis. Is there going to be a trigger? Are they going to counter out of this? There's not a trigger. That's huge for us. And then I'm debating on whether or not to swing with our last Dofi, but I don't think it makes sense to. I think we're all right to just sit back and wait another turn. Even another 10 Mom, that would be annoying, but I think we're just going to have this one in the bag, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to make a little bit of a desperate play here and swing 12,000 into the Eustace Captain Kid. Luckily, we can get out of this. I mean, even if we couldn't get out of this, I think we just win this next turn. We'll give them a 2k, we'll give them another 2k, and then we'll give them a 1k with Cavendish. This has got to feel bad. We might just see them concede here, but I mean, you never know with the triggers they possibly could have. 5,000, we'll start off with our Leader. We're not too worried about triggers just because we've got such a big board, and then we also have that Hody Jones if we really need to rest a blocker, or yeah, just another swing. We'll do 10 with Dofi. They'll take that. Another 10 with Dofi. They will take that as well. They are going to get the trigger, you're the one who should disappear, which does let them get another life. It probably won't be enough though. 10,000 with our other Dofi, they'll take that. They do have the beige, which is great for them, but again, it is not enough. We do have this Cavendish swing. We're going to swing for a big 16,000. There is no way they're getting out of that, and that is GG's. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think about them? I'm having a ton of fun with this leader in OP10. I was thinking that maybe Lim would be my new leader for OP10, but I don't know. I don't really think I can stop playing Bonney. Bonney is just like, it speaks to my soul. That's how good it feels to play. If you've got any other leader suggestions for me, definitely throw those in the comments down below. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this deck list and other deck lists that I should try in the future. If you want to win the custom leader, all you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. And with that, folks, have a great rest of your day. Peace. Don't forget to subscribe.